The series starts out with a race to determine the 7 chosen elves who will protect and take care of the sacred tree, the Ellcrys. It is an ancient tree that is said to be the last line of defense against the forbidding, the other dimension which holds all the demons imprisoned in darkness. Meanwhile, the elven princess, Amberle, decides to run the race despite the fact that women have never been selected. But she breaks that tradition by being one of the first 7 to cross the line. Her boyfriend, Loren, also wins a spot as one of the selected elves. At the ceremony to officially announce the chosen, Amberle's grandfather, King Amberle Elessedil, is surprised by the fact that his granddaughter is one of the chosen, as he had no idea she was racing. There is tension between Amberle's 2 uncles, Ander, who trained her and supported her for the race, and Arian, who is angry that she was put in danger in the first place. Arian states that they had made a pact to protect Amberle after her father's, their brother's, death. It is at this ceremony where each of the chosen are asked to touch the Ellcrys to be accepted by it. All the chosen touch the tree one by one and go back to their respective places. But when Amberle touches the tree, the Ellcrys gives her a dire vision of a future. In it, the elven kingdom is under attack by demons and her people are being slaughtered. Immediately, the scene shifts to the awakening of an ancient druid, Alanan, who has been asleep for 30 years in an ice cave. He is awakened just as Amberle touches the sacred tree. He then pulls out a sword and states it has begun. In the next scene, a halfling elf, Wil Ohmsford, is racing back to his dying mother, hoping to cure the disease that is killing her. Unfortunately, when he arrives, his uncle informs him that he is too late and that his mother cannot be saved. In her last moments, Wil's mother gives him 3 blue magical stones called elf stones, which belong to his father. Her last words for her son are to find the druid. While burying his mother, Wil asks his uncle about his father and the elf stones. His uncle Flick gets very intense and tells Wil that the stones put his father in an early grave, and encourages him to get rid of them. However, Wil ignores this ominous advice and keeps the stones. Meanwhile, in the elven capital Arbolin, Amberle, who has recovered, is sketching a dark drawing of the demon she saw in her vision. Loren finds her with the picture, but dismisses it as nothing. He then convinces her to go to a celebration being thrown for the chosen despite her initial reluctance to go. In the meantime, Wil decides to leave his home to go to Storlock, a town renowned for the best healers. Despite his uncle's initial reluctance, he agrees to let Wil go but warns his nephew to keep his elven ancestry hidden. He expands that there are creatures out there that don't like elves. Wil agrees and starts his journey on horseback to Storlock. We shift back to Amberle, who comes to the party for the chosen, but she is still shaken by the earlier vision. She, once again, begins to hear the Ellcrys calling to her. After distracting the persistent Loren, she slips away from the party to visit the sacred tree. She goes and touches the tree and once more has a horrible vision. This time, she sees herself holding a bloody knife after stabbing her boyfriend. At that moment, Loren, who followed her from the party, finds her with the Ellcrys. She tells him everything she just saw and decides to leave Arbolin. When Loren goes to stop her, she knocks him out. Meanwhile, Wil is attacked on the road by a troll, who is about to kill him. But a beautiful human girl named Eretria throws her dagger at the troll and kills the beast in the nick of time. With no horse and nowhere to go, Wil follows Eretria. Back in Arbolin, Loren is confronted by Prince Ander after he comes to know that his niece has gone missing. He forces Loren to tell him everything that she told him. When the young elf spills everything, Ander refuses to believe him and storms off. In the garden of the Ellcrys, the royal gardener notices that the sacred tree has wounds and sores, which the tree has never had before. He realizes that the tree is sick and goes to tell the king. While the gardener speaks with the king, Alanan barges into the meeting after easily taking out the guards. The king knows the mysterious stranger and calls him the last druid of Paranur. He allows the druid to stay despite Arian's deep distrust of strangers. On the other hand, Alanan requests to see the Ellcrys and is allowed access. Next, we shift back to Wil and Eretria, where the latter leads the half-elf to a wood house, which she claims is her. Here, she makes him strip down and take a bath and gives him wine which is drugged. He asks her whether she is afraid of rovers, nomadic humans who steal for a living. She laughs and calls him naive and says he doesn't know the first thing about rovers. She then apologizes for the epic headache he is going to have, and almost immediately Wil passes out. As it turns out, Eretria is a rover, and she proceeds to rob Wil of everything including the elf stones. At the elf capital, Alanan, who is studying the wounds on the Ellcrys, declares that the Ellcrys is dying and will soon start shedding leaves. As each leaf falls, another demon is let loose into their world, and the barrier that holds the demons in the forbidding gets weaker. He tells the king to mobilize and prepare his army. However, Prince Arian is once skeptical of the stranger and his words. Just then, the very first leaf falls and withers away. With the fall of the leaf, the first demon, Dagdamor, is released into the world. He uses very similar magic as Alanan and forms a barrier that cloaks his existence. The Dagdamor is a former elven druid who turned evil, and is extremely powerful and dangerous. In the next scene, Wil is woken up in the bath by Alanin, who reveals that Eretria is a rover and she is long gone with his elf stones. He adds that the world is in danger and calls Wil a Shannara, a famous bloodline that once saved the world. In response, the young half-elf tells him he has the wrong man, but the druid reveals that Wil's father was capable of magic as is Wil, and he promises to show how to use magic. Reluctantly, the half-elf begins his journey to the druid keep of Paranur. Meanwhile, another leaf falls and a shape-shifting demon, Changeling, is released into the world. Dagdamor sends the demon to Arbalin. That night, Amberle comes across a fire and approaches it to find Eretria. The rover gives Amberle a cup of wine, but unlike Wil, she sees through Eretria's trick of drugging and stealing. The elven princess then turns the table on Eretria. At this moment, she hears the Ellcrys calling to her to come back to her. Immediately, she steals Eretria's horse and runs away. In the next scene, Prince Ander finds the picture of the demon that Amberle had been drawing. He immediately informs the king, who orders the Chosen to be moved into protective custody. In the meantime, Wil and Alanin arrived at Paranur. The druid shows the power of magic as he seeks out the secret chamber of the enchanted ruins. He finds it, but there is a price for using magic, as Wil sees with Alanin's burnt hand. In the codex, they find the story of the Ellcrys. The story goes that when the sacred tree is nearing the end of its days, it will bear a single seed, and a member of the Chosen will carry the seed to a place called Safehold and submerge it in bloodfire. The problem is no one knows where this Safehold is located. Suddenly, the Dagdamor attacks Alanin's mind, who realizes that the demon has sent an agent to Arbalin to attack the Chosen Elves. Terrified of this revelation, Alanin and Wil rush to the capital of the elf world. Meanwhile, in Arbalin, Lauren is in the sacred chamber with the Ellcrys. He begins to leave the chamber when he sees Amberle. Before he can say anything, she warns him that the Chosen are in danger from a demon, and asks where the rest are hidden. Unfortunately, it is the Changeling disguised as his girlfriend, and the demon swiftly kills Lauren, just as Amberle saw in her vision. A few moments later, Alanin gets back to Arbalin with Wil to warn the king to protect the Chosen. When they go to check on the young elves, they find that everyone has been brutally slaughtered. Only one Chosen now lives, which means Amberle's life is in great danger, and she is the last hope because only she can save the Ellcrys. However, Arian does not believe a word that Alanin is saying about the Dagdamor and tries blaming the slaughter on local rebels. He asks his father to step down and allow him to take over, since the people are beginning to doubt their king. The king replies that a good king does not step down in a time of crisis, and that his experience will be needed. Meanwhile, as Amberle is on her way back to Arbalin, she falls into a trap laid by her Aunt Pyria. Thankfully, the elven princess was also looking to find her for much-needed advice. On the other hand, Eretria is attacked by another rover, but gets the better of the man. Before she can kill him, her father Safilo, the leader of the rover clan, stops her. He's angry that she lost her haul to an elf and threatens to sell her to another rover as a wife. But she presents him with the elf stones and convinces him to give her another chance. The cruel old man becomes entranced by the stones and proposes a deal: capture the half-elf Wil, and Safilo will grant her freedom. Elsewhere in Arbalin, the half-elf searches Amberle's room to find out where she could have gone. Following this, he tells the king and Alanin that Amberle is with the king's sister Pyria. Unbeknownst to them, the demon Changeling is in the room in the form of the king's dog. We also find out that Pyria fell in love with Alanin and was exiled to the kingdom of Winghove for it. As a result of this, the druid and the half-elf set off for Winghove. On the way, Alanin reveals that magic destroyed Wil's father, and that it can have different effects on different people. A few hours later, they reach Winghove, and Alanin and Pyria have a tearful reunion. Meanwhile, after an awkward first meeting, Wil tells Amberle about the dying Ellcrys and how she needs to go back to Arbalin. In the meantime, another leaf falls from the Ellcrys, and a flying demon, Fury, is let loose. Without wasting any time, the beast flies straight to Winghove, where it kills Pyria and goes after the rest. All seems lost until Alanin slashes the beast with his sword, but is gravely wounded in the process. Before passing out, he instructs the kids to take him back to the cave he first awoke in, as it has magical properties. While there, he tells them to go on to Arbalin and leave him in the cave. However, Wil resists this and decides to go to the nearby Silver River, as its mud is known for healing properties. Unfortunately, another leaf falls from the Ellcrys and another Fury is let loose. It goes straight to Winghove and finds its dead comrade. Enraged, it picks up the scent from the carcass and follows our main characters. Unaware of this, Amberlin will where the latter reveals his Shannara bloodline. This impresses the princess, as Jurl Shannara was a famous king who united the 4 mythical lands. Soon, they arrive at the river, where Wil jumps in to get the mud. When he comes back up, the princess is being held hostage by Eretria and her father's right-hand man. They are then bound and taken by force back to the rover camp. At the camp, Sefilo acts friendly and offers Wil a place in their rover camp as a healer. That night, the chief of the rovers instructs his daughter to beat Amberle and make Wil think she'll kill her. He hopes that this will get the half-elf to show how the elf stones work. Following this, Eretria goes straight to a bound Amberle and cuts her bounds. She then gives the princess a choice: change into the special clothes Sefilo has for her and fight Eretria in a cage match, or punch her and make her run for it. Not wanting to leave Wil behind, she goes for choice number 3, which is to bamboozle Eretria and take her hostage with her own knife. When Amberle confronts Sefilo with her hostage, he flat out laughs in her face. At this point, Eretria takes advantage of the confusion and wrestles the princess to the ground. Wil intervenes and tells Sefilo he'll do anything if they leave his friend alone. The chief then hands him the elf stones and demands to be shown how to use them. Suddenly, the Fury comes screeching down the sky and attacks the camp, which causes chaos among the rovers. Taking advantage, Amberle gets free, but then sees that Eretria is about to be attacked by the Fury and knocks Eretria out of the way. On the other hand, seeing that both Amberle and Eretria are in imminent danger, our hero wills himself to use the elf stones. A bright blue beam of light emanating from the stones kills the Fury and knocks out Wil in the process. After the attack, Wil is taken inside a camp to be healed, but this is interrupted by Sefilo, who wants the elf stones and attacks Amberle for them. At this point, Alanin appears and easily takes him out and takes the 2 young elves away. In the woods outside the rover camp, Alanin heals Wil's wounds with druid magic. After Wil wakes, they continue their journey to Arborlin. On the way there, they come across an elven farm where the residents have been brutally slain by a demon. Inside a house, they discover one survivor of the massacre, a young elven man, Bandon, who was chained and masked in a secret room. When asked as to why he was chained up, he says his parents did it, but he is very elusive to expand further. Amberle takes pity on Bandon and decides to take him with them to Arborlin, while the other 2 are skeptical about the stranger. Alanin states that he can't read the new kid's mind, and that he has some unknown magical ability. Back at the rover camp, Eretria believes she has fulfilled her part of the bargain she made earlier with her father by bringing Wil to him, and is preparing to leave on her own. This preparation is cut short as Sefilo wants her to help him get the elf stones back. Meanwhile, Amberle, Wil, Alanin, and Bandon arrive at Arborlin. For Bandon, this is quite an experience, and he seems to be enamored of the beauty of the palace. He is caught unaware when Amberle touches him, producing a vision of her death. It is revealed that this is the awful power he has. He can see the death of those who touch him. He doesn't tell anyone the fate of the princess, but Alanin can guess that something happened. Later, Alanin warns that there is still an agent for the Dagdamor in the palace, and that they will have to have constant surveillance in the palace. Amberle is greeted warmly by a relieved Uncle Anders, but warns her that the warm welcome will more than likely end with him. Most elders blame the princess for what is going on with the sacred tree. As a result, Amberle wants to tell the council of elders what they saw with Wil at her side to back her up. But the half-elf tells her that he had no intention of participating in it. His mission was to get her safely back to the capital, and then head to Storlock to become a healer. Disappointed, Amberle bids him farewell, and she heads into the council chamber on her own. Alanin, also extremely disappointed, says that he will keep the elf stones until they meet again. However, on his way out, Bandon finds Wil and stops him. He reveals that something terrible will happen if Wil does not accompany the princess to Safehold. In the council room, Amberle faces the angry elders and her grandfather. With Alanin at her side, she begins to tell them of the very real threat of the demons, and seems to be gaining some sway over the council. But her uncle Arian steps up and completely discredits both the princess and the druid. It is at this point that Wil enters the room. Angry, Prince Arian orders Commander Tilt to escort him out, but is stopped when Alanin states that it is treasonous to attack a member of the royal family. Incensed, Arian arrogantly claims that Wil is no relation to his family, the Elessedil family, which Alanin agrees with. But he then reveals Wil's real ancestral tie to the Shannara bloodline. This seems to make the council and the king willing to listen to what the half-elf has to say. Thankfully, Wil manages to turn the tide in Amberle's favor, and she is permitted to go to the Ellcrys and take up her role as a member of the Chosen again. In the Ellcrys garden, King Aventine tells them that near the end of the days, the tree will bear a single seed, and a member of the Chosen must take it to a place called Safehold and immerse it in bloodfire. Before the Ellcrys will give that seed, Amberle must pass a test to prove that she is worthy of the task. Then, the princess is newly anointed by Aventine and takes up her vow to the Ellcrys. Amberle must then enter the tree and be tested by its magic. If she passes, the sacred tree will give her the seed. If she fails, she will be killed and all hope will be lost. In the final scene, We see a door open near the base of the tree, and Amberle steps through it into the light. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave 1,000 likes or 100 comments if you'd like us to continue part 2. Thank you.